Yeah, so now let's start. So basically, let me introduce myself. My name is Anup Tiwari, as you can know, and currently working as a solutions developer with PXI, and I will be an instructor for the next 15 odd sessions on web scraping, right? So throughout this journey, we will understand the basics, what tools that we use, and will have some live coding sessions to ultimately reach a point where we can do our own scraping, right? So we will make these sessions interactive, such that we will discuss a topic and then we will take a pause to reflect on what we learned, and if there are any doubts, you can ask and we can proceed further, right? So if there is any doubt before we proceed to the next topic, we will clear it out there, right? Okay, so we will we will cover some topics. So there are some prerequisite topics to understand and do web scraping. We will cover all of that. So before every topic, we will discuss some theory regarding that topic, and then we will do some practical live coding sessions, right? So we will continuously build up upon the knowledge that we gained in previous sessions to you know do the web scraping and learn more, basically build more advanced scrapers and scrape more advanced sites, right? So the pace we will follow will be medium to slow, depending on the kind of topping we follow and the how comfortable you already are in those topics, right? So we will adjust the pace accordingly. I would like to invite everyone to the discussions wherever you feel you are unable to understand something and have any issues, you can stop me, right? Some topics we will not cover, might be out of scope, but we can discuss it later if you like. So some of the topics we will not go in a lot of depth, but we will learn all the topics which is required for successfully scraping any website. 95% of websites on web we will learn how to scrape, right? So basically, let me just share my screen once. Is my screen visible to everyone? Yeah. So basically, we will follow three steps in doing scraping for any website, right? There are further steps to these three steps, but overall, it's basically when we want to scrape data. So what is scraping data? Basically, getting data. So websites publish data. Let me show you. So any website, let's say this one, this data, this is kind of a data which is published on on this website. All of these text is data, right? So whenever we want to fetch this data, we do three steps. First, we inspect the website. I mean, we check what data do we need, where is it placed, what is the structure of the website, and what elements are there. So this is a better example. So let's say I do a search here, and so this is Make My Trip website, and I do a simple search Delhi to Bangalore, 7th of Friday, and I get these prices. Some lot of entries are here, and I want to get this all of this data from this site without having any interaction with its database, right? So right now what I'm doing is I'm just scraping this content of the website, right? So this is called web scraping. Getting this content, scraping of this content from the website is called web scraping. Okay. So first step we do is we inspect the structure of the website. So we inspected the structure that okay, this data is placed here, the prices are placed here, these are the times, you know, what is the time of this whole flight. Once we inspect this website, we plan a strategy to how to get this data. So okay, this can be further elaborated, but after this, what we do is we parse and store the data in whatever format we need. Maybe we want to store these numbers in a spreadsheet, or we want to store these numbers in a database or text files, or you know, any other format that you like, JSON, XML. So there are so many formats that you can refer or use, right? So we will discuss all of these. Basically, all these three steps we will follow for any website we want to do. We will inspect it. We will then plan a strategy, and then we will accordingly, you know, store and you know fetch whatever we want to do. Right. So let's. I think. Right. So let's start. First, let's. So initially, I mean, in the start of this session, we will discuss a bit of theory because that is required. And since those softwares have not been installed, so we will not be able to do a live coding session today. But these are the basics that are required for you know required to build upon. And this, if these are clear from start, then it will be useful for us when we will code, right? So what is web scraping? It is simply a method to fetch data from web data sources, right? Fetch data. So basically, fetching data is like, you know, I mean, if I want to get this data, basically that's what I'm calling it fetching. Right? Obviously, there are number of steps involved in this fetching, which is parsing, you know, finding these numbers, finding these numbers, and then you know doing some manipulations and then getting it into the format that we want, and then finally storing it. So basically, fetching data means all those steps, right? So we are using automation to extract only the required information. So let's say on this website there is a lot of information, but I only want this flight numbers and these flight prices and these timings for monitoring. So I only you know fetch only these data which is required by me, right? And let's say this data changes at some regular interval. So after 7 p.m. has already passed, 7 p.m. flights will not be shown here. So this data gets updated. Also, the prices might get updated, right? Depending on the demand and you know whatever, right? So it is useful to extract data at regular intervals without any human intervention. So once we write this code and schedule it, it will automatically fetch this data and save into whatever file formats that we would have, you know, defined, right? And it is kind of a program which is called a script that automates user interaction with the server, right? When we are clicking any button here, what we are doing is sending a request to server. When I click this, I'm sending a request to server, and then a response is generated and sent back to me, right? And that's this data. Okay, so we will discuss this, how this works, like it is here only, but we will discuss this in detail. How is the data flow of a simple web scraper? The web scraper requests the web data source. Web data source is basically connected to a server or a database or whatever. You know, web data source is simply a web page which is showing some data. Okay, when the web scraper is sending a request to the server, what is this request? This request is for fetching this web page on which the data is there. This will be clear as we will go further in detail. The web data source will send the response back. This is basically a server which will send the response back into my web scraper. This is called parsing. Then the web scraper will have the data, it will be parsed. Parsing is basically finding relevant elements in that data, and then the final data in which I want is formed. So simply a very simple flow is there. This is as we discussed, in the three steps we will inspect the web data source, then we will plan a strategy, we'll make a request, the response will be passed, and final data will be formed. Right. So I'll take a pause here. So until now, do we have any questions? Hello. Show no question. So right. So I'll proceed. Okay. So just simply, what are the applications? Once we'll just want to go through it. Why would we want to do web scraping? So as we all know today, data is all the power. If we analyze and generate trends or insights from data, we can do a lot of further use the data to make business decisions. Similarly, I mean, we have listed some of the applications here, sentiment analysis. So we get data from Twitter to do user sentiment analysis. A lot of big companies do this. We can do market research and trend analysis, right? Price monitoring and forecasting, news content monitoring, right? Simple use cases are worldometers info. So basically, web scraping is also useful. Here we can see that this website itself is scraping data from multiple sources and presenting it here, right? So there are different data sources for all this. They would have mentioned somewhere anyway. So, but ultimately, what this website is doing is it is fetching just right. It's not responsive right now. Anyway, so it is basically fetching data from different web sources and presenting it here. This page just got okay. Anyway, so what I wanted to say was that even these websites are doing web scraping to present data from different sources, right? Similarly, it's one example is Trivago.com. What it does is it fetches data from all of the different hotel websites to display on its own website, and basically it's doing some price monitoring and showing you the list of all the prices available on different web sources. So they are scraping a lot of web data sources. Others, bigger examples are Google.com, right? Google.com basically uses a crawler. There is a very minor difference. Crawler basically, you know, it indexes the data, but somehow it is also kind of a scraping. So, but yeah, Google.com does not, scraping involves storing as well. When you want to store the data as well, it is called web scraping in full form. Crawling is simply indexing it, that it is available somewhere. But still, it is storing some of the data of the site. So then also it can be called web scraping along with web crawling, right? I have mentioned a few links here to go through. We can go through it later. Okay. After that, let's discuss simple data sources types. So we will here we will just see the kind of websites that are available on the web for scraping. So there are three kind of data sources available. One is static content website. Okay, so static content websites are simple websites where the data would not change over time. Okay, you can take any simple example. Uh, You can take this one also. So this data, these texts will not change over time. Okay, because this is fixed, right? So this is kind of a static content website where the data is will not change over time. Okay. The second is dynamic content websites like these where the data will change over time, you know, and every time, like every day, the new data will come. Okay, which are so dynamic content websites are of three types: auto refreshing data, where like this one is auto refresh every day, it will auto refresh, but the frequency is not very high, right? So the second type of data is form generated data. It's websites where you will have to use a form here, like what you are doing is you are selecting a few inputs, and then accordingly when you press search, the data will come. Okay, so this is called form generated content. Okay, only when we would input some parameters to the form, this data will be displayed. And the third type is data generated by user interaction. So you see here, this is the default way in which the site loaded. But when I click this here, flight details, so you see that more data has come here. Fare summary, cancellation, data, date change, flight details. So all of this data only came after I clicked this, right? This data was not earlier available on the web page, right? It was like this. When I clicked it, this data came. So this is the third kind of, you know, these are third kind of websites, that is data generated by user interaction. To scrape either of these two, the strategy will be different, even though they are on the same page. This strategy will be different and this strategy will be different. So we will discuss both of them in the coming course. And then there are web APIs. Okay. So APIs which will uh, send you data in JSON or XML formats, which can be directly consumed by our Python uh, Python application script that we will write. Okay. So let's see what we would have to know before we start getting deep into this course, this tutorial course, right? So firstly we will have to learn some basics of Python programming language. Okay, Python is a multi-purpose high level programming language. Multi-purpose means basically currently we are using it for web scraping, but it can also be used for any other task. Like if you want to uh, tomorrow you want to do web development, you can also do it using Python. You want to do numerical analysis, you want to do optimization, any other thing you want to do, you can connect it to sensors. So basically Python can do anything you want. So it is a very good high level multi-purpose language. High level means it is very close to English, right? The code is very simple to understand and is very close, I mean human readable. Okay. So there are other programming languages which are not very easy to understand, but Python is very easy. We will see as we will go to its basics. Okay. Second is some web development components, concepts like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We will not go into great detail in any of these, but we will understand enough to do any kind of web scraping. Okay, because in and all of these concepts, are vast and require considerable time to understand. But we will touch on them enough to for us to scrape any kind of website that you like. Okay. So HTML is basically hypertext markup language, which gives the structure to any site. All of this structure, anything that you see here, this is basically HTML. Apart from the design that you see, this structure that is created, this block of content here, this block of content here, this block of content here, this whole navbar. This is called, this is defined by HTML, markup language. This defines the structure of the website. Then there is CSS. CSS is cascading style sheets. It is used to style a website. Like I have blue here, red here, right? So all of this blue here again, light blue here, black, navy blue here. So all of this was defined in the CSS of this website. Okay, and then there is JavaScript. JavaScript is simply used for user interaction. When I click this or I click this, this clicking could happen because of JavaScript. Right? JavaScript enabled me this user interaction on the website. If I click this here, if I click this here, all of this user interaction is provided to me by JavaScript. Okay, so that's the third thing that we would want to understand. And then the third thing is very basic networking concepts like HTTP or we will only use actually HTTP because all the websites use HTTP only. You know, if you see like this HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, so we will only be using one protocol, that's HTTPS. But again, there are sites that uh, you know use FTP. So, for example, some sites when you click the link, what happens is you directly get the download. Download of Excel or any other format. So that is some other protocol over that is also over HTTP. But on the back there is some file transfer protocol that happens. Anyway, we will also discuss that later. And along with that, we will need to use the developer console. So at the start, you would have seen it open like this. You know, this is called the developer console. You know? So we have different tabs here. We will also discuss the relevance of this tool, why it is used and why it is needed. Because it's a good tool, and I mean it is very much without it, it is very difficult. You will have to use some other tool like Postman to inspect these network requests, but it is already provided in Chrome. How you do it is you just press F12 on your machine to open this console. I think from here also somewhere you can go. You can see that. But F12 will open that console. Okay, so we will understand how to use that developer console to understand and fetch the network, understand the network request and fetch the data accordingly. And fourth, we need to understand how to parse and store the data. Parsing is basically finding the relevant elements in the response sent by the server and then manipulating it and storing it into the final formats. Right. So till now, does anyone have any doubt? Okay, no. So let's proceed further. Right. So anyway, so the prerequisites that I said earlier were this Python software that we need to install. Along with that, Chrome WebDriver we need to configure. Google Chrome browser we need to install, and so let's just go through one by one. So Python you can install from this site. If you search Python download, you will come to this site. Download Python, the first link. And here you can see that we have the latest version for Windows. You will have to click this link and simply install it using next steps. So I've already installed it, right? But you can install it. This would require admin privileges. So please install it with admin privileges. Second is Chrome WebDriver. So let's discuss just a bit about what these are. So if I search for Chrome driver download, I'll come to this page. And here I can see that there are a few versions of Chrome. So this thing is important to understand because this is required. What we will do, so we have three versions here, 85.0.41, 84.0.41 and 83. What you will have to check first is that what is the Chrome version that you're using. If you've already using Chrome browser, then you will have to first check that which what is the version. You will come to help and about Google Chrome. Here you can see that I am using version 84. Okay, only the first two terms 84. Accordingly, I will download. If I am using 83 or 85, accordingly I will download these drivers. Okay, so if you click this, simply a driver will be downloaded. So let me just show you what how to do it. You will come here and download this. Again, I think we will have to discuss all of this in detail, and maybe we will have to go through these steps with all of you. Uh, yeah, so I'll just extract that folder, and here I have this application called Chrome Driver. This is used for automating the Chrome interactions, basically all the browser interactions. Okay. After this, the browser we have installed. Fourth is Sublime Text Editor. So it is a simple text editor like this one. What how we can install it is we can simply search for Sublime Text Download. We will go through all of these steps later after you have got your administrative accesses. Uh, so you can come here and download for Windows 64, whichever version you're using for Windows, and this will open here. This is the text editor that we will use to write some of the scripts as a part of these tutorial sessions, and so it has its own benefits which we will not discuss right now, but it makes coding very easy. So we will use this text editor. Okay. Fourth thing is administrative access to CMD. Why is it needed? Is because so we will be using some of the commands like pip and or easy install. So these are some of the commands which require admin privileges. Uh, right now also, yeah. So these are commands which require admin privileges. So for that we need administrative access. Otherwise, we will need to use some proxy, which is not a user-friendly method. So for some days until we are having these classes, we will need the command line access to install some of the packages. Okay, so yeah, yeah. Hi, Srikar. Were you saying something? Yeah, you are audible. Shall I proceed now? Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, Srikar. Yeah, Dhananjay sir. Yeah, Dhananjay sir. Please tell me. Right. Okay. Chrome driver. Yeah, that is fine because so there is only 32-bit version available. So yeah, that is not a compatibility problem because 32-bit versions work on 64 bits as well. So anyway, we don't have any other option, so that is fine. Even I am using my computer 64-bit, but this is the only option that we have. So that is fine. Okay, sir. Yeah. So should I proceed now? Hmm. Okay. So after this, we'll just see, some basic steps to scrape a static data source. Okay. So let's do this. I'll just demonstrate how, uh, initially how to start if we want to scrape any static data source. So first step is inspect the website and check the required data in page source. Okay. So let's use some better source this time. Okay. I'll consider this currently a static data source, even though it is a dynamic data source. So no problem. But because it is refreshing after every 1 day, so I can consider it a static data source for today. Okay. So what when I say that I want to first inspect a website and check the required data in page source, what I want to do is I want to simply come to right click on the web page and say web view page source. Okay. This page opens and shows me some gibberish, some code, not yet loaded. Just wait for a minute. So here we can see some gibberish code, something. And this is the first step to for scraping any web, any static data source, that we check its web page source. This is the code that reflects this design, all of this, which is present here. So if I just see 19, this one, and I copy this and I find this here, I can see that these statistics are also present here. You can see coronavirus cases, and this is the number. We can see deaths, and this is the number. Okay, the same which is present here. Okay, recovered, this is the number. Right. So we are inspecting it here that if the source of this web page contains the data. Okay, and we found that, yeah, so the source contains the data. All the information which is present on this web page I could also find on the view page source करके, है ना, जो page खुला. Okay. So this makes me comfortable that if I only get this response, what this is called, this gibberish, we will understand all of it because it is nothing but HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All of this combined is called HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It is called the page source, web page source. This page is created by this source. Okay. So we will understand this. But for now, let's see. Okay. So hmm, right. So we saw that the data is available here, and now what we will do, that I'm comfortable now that if I just get this response, then what I will have to do is only search these numbers in this text. If I get this, copy and paste this whole text, somehow, and find these numbers, then I am done, right? I could get these numbers if I could extract them. Okay. So firstly, that is what I'm doing. I'm inspecting the source to check if the required data is available in page source. So this first step is complete. I found that it was available in page source. Second thing I'm doing is making a network request to server and fetch the response. So this is what I thought. Okay, that if I fetch the response of this web page, then it is easier for me to you know do the rest of the stuff. Third, what I do is I inspect the response to identify the required tags. So when I say response, I said this page as page source. Okay, whatever is written here. And let me introduce one more term, response. So this particular date information that you are seeing here, the page source, is the response which was generated by the server of worldometers and sent back to the browser for you to view. Here. So how it simply happens is, uh, when you make a request to server, like let's go here once simply. When you make a request to the server, it finds that web page which you are requesting, routes to that web page and fetches that data and sends you back the response. This response is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript only. The website, here we have web scraper, but let's consider this a web browser. Okay, the web browser interprets this response and shows us this page. Simple, right? So let's go back there. Yeah. So third thing, I inspect the response to identify required text containing data, right? And then I pass the response and save into spreadsheets or database. So I'll just show you an example of this same website for this Worldometers, which is the source for real time coronavirus cases in the world, uh, which updates daily. It keeps updating for different time zones. So I have created a very simple scraper to scrape this data. Before that, let's see how a scraper works. Okay, so we can see live if we want to scrape this data. Let's go to some examples. Make my trip, prices flight scraper. So let's see how this runs. Okay, how what a web scraper simply does, we will see that. Okay, so uh, we will learn all of these things in the upcoming sessions. Right now, I'm just trying to demonstrate that kind of things a web scraper does. So I'm simply written a web scraper. You can see that. Okay, just a second. So I have just run a simple web scraper, which is a make my trip web scraper. What it does is it simply fetches data from this website. Okay, the prices data. So right. Here we can see that it is doing some interaction which is not done by me. It says that the web page is found. It is scrolling right now up to the bottom, and then it must be doing something which it will just say that it is doing. It is waiting for something. Okay, still waiting. Yeah, so it says it's closing Chrome. Okay, after this, it got some data from the document object model. It displaying some data, that it got, and then it printed me some data that was available on the website, and finally extracted it and saved it to a file. Okay, if I go to the folder, I can see that I have this file generated right now, and it got me the flights data. Let's just wait. It's a bit slow, sorry. So here we can see that we have got some data which, sorry, right. So we have flight name, flight code, departure time, departure city, all of these things we got, okay, from the website automatically. Okay. If we had to do this manually, what we would have done is we would have again, uh, you know, come here. First of all, we would have come to make my trip. We would have come here, and we would have selected 8th of August and click the search button. Now, even first time the web page is not fully loaded. I will have to scroll till the bottom many times to get all the data. Okay. So the scrolling, only after I scroll, I make some user interaction. I will be able to get the whole data which is available on the web page. Okay. So user scrolling is was also an interaction. So basically I am doing user scrolling and then I am looking at each of these numbers and storing it somewhere. Through this web scraper that I currently displayed, I was able to fetch all of this data automatically and save it into a file within a few seconds. Okay, right. So this was one example. Secondly, we can also see some more examples, but yeah, just give me a second. Yeah, so we can see some more examples now. Uh, let's see GST information fetcher. So we have one more site like this. Here, what happens is that uh, I come to mastersindia.co first, and then I come to this you know tools. I search by uh, GST number. I come here and I put the GST number and click search. A table is generated. Okay. Now this is tough for me if I want to do this for, let's say, hundreds of numbers. Okay. So it is easier for me to create a scraper which can fetch this data and output in some format which I can further use or store. Okay. So I'll just show one more example that so here we can see that if, when I ran this script, uh, the browser, I'm currently using a headless version. So browser went and found this on this website and fetched me the information which was present here, right? So I can again just change this parameter and run it for 100 more. So you can see that this process took, I mean, not even 10 seconds, maybe lesser than that. So it makes our tasks very easy if we learn it. I mean, and use for our automation. Okay. So that was the second example, right? So let's just discuss two more type of sources, how we do it, and then come to one uh, live problem that we can, currently I will live code and show you the steps that we will follow to scrape a simple site like, this one. This we will scrape right now. And we will use Python to scrape it. है ना? So let's just quickly discuss these two more slides and let's see how we will do it in actual coding form. Okay. Before that, we will just go through one or two scripts, the writing style. This particular class is just an introductory session on all of this. We will go into basics in upcoming session for all of these components, be it Python, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or parsing, or file formats, or how to save it into spreadsheets. We will go over it through different examples. So today we will just get a gist of how any person will code and we will go through the steps that that are logical to scrape a simple website. Let's say I want to get this data from this website, this particular table. I will follow those logical steps. Okay. So second, we discuss some type of data sources here: auto refreshing, form generated, and data generated by user interaction. Let's discuss how to tackle those. We will obviously have practical examples on all of these, but let's discuss the theory right now. Simply. Okay. So when I say just let's discuss the form generated one first. So typically, the following steps are required to scrape form generated data. Okay. So the first one is again the simple inspect the website and check required data in page source. Okay. So here this obviously is a form generated content. We are putting some data in form and clicking search, and then this is coming. So what I can do is if I go to page source uh, and confirm this, we can see that the data, if I just search this one, let's say uh, this small text in this source, this is the best way to check. You have to just search a particular text. You can see that this is not available. And why did I search only this text? Because this was dynamic. If this was static, that would have come there. But if I search this one, it is found because that is static content. Only this one is dynamic content, and we found that it was not available in this web page. We could not found this. Let's say this one. This address was not found here, right? What this means is that the website does not have data in page source. So what we will do if the data is not available in source, we will inspect the DOM and identify required tags. Okay. So what is this DOM? Um, we will discuss more, but simply the full form is document object model. Uh, so what happens is when the browser sends back this gibberish to the sorry, when the server, the backend server, sends this gibberish to the browser back, this doesn't make any sense right now. So browser creates a document object model, a hierarchy which is not visible right now here, but it creates a hierarchy where the elements are present in that hierarchy. Okay, it makes why so what is the advantage is that it makes us easier to manipulate those elements. Let's say this is an input box, this is an element, you know this this is enabled only because of the DOM. The browser created the DOM and then JavaScript could interact. When I click this and type something, uh, nothing is happening. Okay, something happened. Okay, so this is all because of that. Okay, so let's not get more into it, but simply it is basically in more crude terms, it is the source which is currently visible. So let me explain it once more. Here I can see that I will show you live. When I click this and I inspected the element, we will see how to inspect also, but let's just see here. We saw that there was a tag which contained uh, all of this data. You can see that when I have hovered here, it shows that this is the particular data. Okay, and after this, if I just close this, after this, I have seen that there's just one more, the small element here. Okay, if I further expand it, I see that I have flight details here and nothing more. All of you can see that there is nothing more here. But if I click flight details, you will see that something changed. Okay, and now we have more content. This one, right? If I close this, you see that the collapse one is gone. The class has changed. If I click this again, the class has changed and some elements have come here. Okay, right? So we've discussed both, uh, form generated as well, and that JavaScript generated as well. So simply I was telling that the DOM is what is currently visible on the website. Okay, this one. Earlier, when this was not clicked, this was the current DOM of the website. When this got clicked, some more info got appended to the website. That is this. So this is the current DOM. Simply, you can understand it like this. Okay, this is the current document object model. Okay, when this was not open, this was the current document object model. When this was open, this was the current document object model. Okay, so you get a basic idea. And identify the required tags. Okay, so inspect DOM and identify required tags. Let's say I wanted to scrape this data. So what I will do, I will double click, right click and say inspect. Okay, this says that it was available in a tag. All of these are called HTML tags: div, p, span. We will discuss a bit about these. So it says that the data is present, 4993 is present in a HTML tag called span. Okay, having a class called actual price, right? So this is basically our simple. We are trying to just see that okay, where is the data present? If I had to see that where is the time present, I will have to see that okay, it is present in a p tag with class this, and if I had to see that what is the this name, you know. So this is like my basic analysis before trying out any coding, and I am just trying to see that where is this data present in the website, you know. Okay, so we will when we will discuss about this web console, we will understand that what this means. Elements basically, whenever you will come into the elements tab, it will show you the current DOM. Okay, if I do this, the DOM changes. Okay, so it will show you the latest DOM. As you do user interaction, the DOM changes. I hope it is clear. As we do user interaction, the DOM changes. Okay, right. So we identified the required tags. So we saw that something is available in span, something is available in paragraph tags. Okay. So we got a basic idea of how we want to go about it, right? And then what we did, we checked the network request to identify underlying data sources, right? We went to this network tab, you know, we did the whole process of search, not available here, but even if we clear it and you know reload, just reload the site, we can see that we have a request. This we will see how to understand all of these things. We can see that we have a request URL here, and there is some request method status code, right? We saw that what other links are being sent a request to. So all of these are requests which were sent to the server, and these are the response. You can see the response that was sent back, right? We will understand this in detail. Okay, so I inspected that, yeah. So what I inspected that the data is coming. Okay, I inspected the response and request headers, all of these things. So I identified the data source and I found that there is nothing special that you know it is requesting to fetch this particular data. It is simply calling with parameters and this response is coming, which is contains all the data. Okay. So accordingly, I will make a decision that what to do next. So if I saw that if I was able to find that some other request link is there, I will make a request to that link. Otherwise, I will make a request to this website only. I mean this particular link only, right? If I did not found any underlying links in this request, we will come to that example. But let's try to understand this way only, right? So if there is no underlying link there, I can directly use this link to make a request to server. Otherwise, I will have to use that link. Okay. We will make the network request to correct data source with form parameters. Okay. So what were the form parameters? These were the form parameters. I mean, what basically we change the date. है ना? We change the date while back. Let's say we select 9 now and do search. So we basically change the parameter. Okay, we change the depart parameter and the new data has come. So we make the network request. What we did when we click the search, we made a network request with the new form parameter. Okay, the same thing we have to do using a web script that we will generate. We will create. Okay, right. So after doing, we inspect the response again. When we do the request, the response comes as an object into our code, and then there we manipulate the data. We pass the response and save it into the spreadsheet or database. The last step is user interacted. We've already seen. The steps are same. Since the DOM changes or user interaction, you know, you will have to evaluate that user interaction itself to get it to that data. So always what you do is you scrape DOM. Websites which do not have any, such kind of websites which directly expose data in source. They have this particular thing as the DOM. I mean, DOM is equal to the page source, where the data is not coming from JavaScript interaction. The DOM equal to page source. Only the sites where you have to do some user interaction to generate data. This data, I mean, again, this data is otherwise not present on the website. Only when you will click this data will come. Okay. So user interaction से generate हुआ है data. Yeah, it is generated by user interaction. So we will have to emulate that user interaction using a tool called Selenium and Chrome WebDriver. Okay. Selenium, we will also discuss what it is. It is simply a web automation tool. So all the things, let's say I came to this website and I did this, some set of steps on a website, I can automate it using Selenium. Okay, Selenium is a web automation and testing tool. Primarily, it is used in testing of websites because when users are testing a very large website with lot of functionalities, it is not possible for a simple user to you know find each of the elements and do that testing. So those tests and that is to be done lot of times. So Selenium is that kind of tool. Selenium's primary work is not web scraping. It is a testing tool, but it is very useful if you want to do web scraping. It allows us to scrape all the sites available on web. So that is what I said. Only one type of site is there which is not which we cannot scrape using Selenium. Rest all of the sites available on the web. So there is one type of site which uses the Java applets. Old websites use Java applet servlets. Not no modern web design uses that. New technologies are used now. But if it is developed using that, Selenium is not cannot do that. Obviously, there are ways to do them. Okay, so but it is a very powerful tool, simply said. Again, after that we inspect the response to identify required tags, मतलब where all the data is available, in which tag it is available, and then we extract the bodies in an HTML for parsing, extract data and save spreadsheets. Okay, so these are all the kind of websites which are available there on web. Some are static data sources which data does not change. Some are user interacted on which only you will do some interaction, the data will come. And some are form generated. You will have to fill some form to arrive at the correct data. And some sites like this has form as well as user interaction. So it becomes advanced. But we saw that we were able to scrape this. So let's quickly go through the steps we used to scrape this site. So we'll just go through this code. Basically, will not the code but the comments which I have written here. This is a script that is used for scraping that site. Before I start with this, does anyone have any doubt until now? So everything is clear till now, I hope, to everyone. That's great. So let's proceed. What we will do, uh, just give me a second, guys. I'll take a 1 minute pause because my earphone just. Yeah. Hello everyone. Sorry for the abrupt break. One of my earphones just fell out. So let's continue. Hmm. So we just wanted to go through this script once. This make my trip safer. So this is the language in which we will write code. This is called Python. We save it as a .py file. .py is Python extension. And these here it is a very simple script. So we have different kind of programs. Script is a type of program where we just simply write some instructions, line by line instructions. And when we run this program, these simple instructions get executed from top to bottom, right? Okay. Then there are other kind of programs for like web applications or other software. So simply this is called a script. What we are doing is we are defining some steps, logical steps which this code, when this code will run, which happen, and ultimately we will get the final data, right? So what we are doing? Firstly, in this program we are importing some libraries. Okay, libraries are called modules. Modules in Python. So what modules are? Python is a simple. Python is a software which has which comes with basic functionalities that you can do, you know but and so there are a lot of modules. Basically all of these modules are functionalities on top of the basic features that Python provides. Okay, so some of the features that we are importing here comes packaged with Python itself, but some of them we have to download externally from Python package index using some pip commands or easy install commands. So here we can see that I have imported CSV. CSV is a module to handle CSV files. We have imported time module. Time is to, you know, do something with time, basically your clock. Okay, and then third is system. So system basically is we import to do some file system operations, you know, interact with the Explorer file system. Okay. Fourth is Selenium WebDriver. So as we discussed, Selenium is a very powerful tool. Okay, and we are using Selenium here because we saw that the website is not static. Plus, it has first it requires you to put some form parameters to arrive at data, and thirdly, you have to also do some user interaction, basic user interaction such as scrolling. So until you scroll till the bottom, you will not arrive at all the elements, right? So that was a fairly complex site. That's why we decided to use Selenium here, right? So simply we imported Selenium WebDriver. Then we have here is beautiful. So we will discuss all of these again, but again let's discuss it like this now. So this is called Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup is a parser. Parsers are uh, basically they structure your response. Okay, they structure your response from the server into a searchable form, basically, so that it can be searched easily, right? So, for example, if you have a very big chunk of text and it is not organized such that you can, let's say there is some particular text you want there, you know, and if it is not organized, then you will have to do what you will have to um, do a long process, basically search for where that starts from and where it ends from and write the code accordingly. But when you're using a parser, you can directly call that object, call a function called find, and find that particular element. Okay, so simply parsers structure the data, right? So then we are importing some more modules from this selenium module only. So selenium is a big module, so we are only importing the functions that are useful to us. Okay, we are using WebDriver wait, by, and expected conditions. Okay. Right, once we have done all our module imports are required for us to run the rest of the code, because we will be using functions from these modules. Okay. After this, we start defining our variables. So how what was my strategy when I started this? That I came here when I first came to this website. I saw that I had to do some user interaction and basically put some forms. But when I clicked search, I saw that this website had this text. So let me start from beginning. Okay. So what was my idea? That let's say I wanted to do from Delhi to Bangalore and wanted to do for 9th of August. Okay. So same thing I did. I clicked 9th of August and then I clicked search. When I clicked search, I found that it is requesting some particular link to fetch data. Okay, right. So and after doing this a few times for other if changing from to and depart, I found that this particular part of the whole thing of the whole link is changing. The rest all is same. Okay, if I want to fetch data, so this was my starting point. Okay. Before, obviously, before that, I had already inspected the elements and checked, that where all of these are placed, and in which tags all of these are placed. Having done that, I now check that what is the link. So when I discuss that we need to inspect network requests. So the main funda, like why we want to do that, is we want to arrive at the link which is exactly being used to fetch the data, because in a modern website you have a link which you put in browser, right, and a web page opens. That web page from its own side sends so many requests to it can send. So for example, let's say worldometers. Okay, worldometers would be sending requests to so many sites, okay, at the back end, but you have to request only one site, right? So if I wanted to check that which all websites worldometer is trying to scrape data from, I would go to inspect element and check the data, but I found on Make My Trip that no such thing is happening. Okay, only the direct link is there, and in indirect in the direct link itself, only these three parameters are changing. One is the from place, second is to, and third is the date. Okay, so that is where I started. So what I did was, since I wanted to make this dynamic, right? I wanted that these variables could be changed and you could, search for anything, any of the airports. I defined three variables: origin, destination, and date, for which I want to, scrape data for. right? And then I defined a base URL. So I understood from here that only this part is changing. So if I could dynamically put this in this link and request this, I could get data. So if I just change 10 here, if I just change 10 here, I see that this web page loads again and shows me data for 10th of August. Okay. So here I got very easily that what I need to do. I just need to make this part dynamic. So for that I created three variables and just simply did this thing to join them. So you can see that when I had actually made a request, it showed me that I am making request to this site, you know, and this was because I had put this way. If I now put you know okay, we will have to go back to that folder first. So let's quickly go there. So if I put now 10th of August, you will see that 10/9 also. So you will see that it is now fetching that link. Okay. So this is how simply I defined this variable, and then I started those interactions which are required. So Selenium first I defined a variable, basically an object which will do all the interaction, right? So what I did was I opened this site. I mean Chrome I opened here. Then when I say driver.get, basically I'm saying that go to that website, this one, right? It went to 10th 9. It is still doing that. So it is now scrolling. So all of these things are happening right now, but let's discuss it. So yeah, what it did was it opened the site, it went to that particular URL, and then it checked what this line says. I have defined a variable here called element xpath. It says that the first box with variant flight data. This is again part of the step. What I did was I inspected it. Okay, so when I inspected it, I saw that the xpath of this particular thing is uh, this one. Just a second. Left side bumper. Is not available. Anyway, so what I'm basically trying to say is that I try to find a element which was yet to load. I mean, which would show me. So which would confirm that this web page was loaded. Why is it necessary? Is because when I click this, you know, see that it takes some time. When it says hold on, we're fetching flights for you, it takes some time to load this data. If I am on even slower using a even slower internet connection, then it will take even more time, right? So before want to scroll or do anything on the web page, I will have to check or wait until the point a particular element is located. I currently don't know which element path is this. When I wrote, I had found that some element is there which is the first one to load, and I checked if that is already loaded. Okay, here I'm saying that if the visibility of that element is located, this visibility of this element is located. Until then, we have to wait. Okay. wait for 15 seconds. If 15 सेकंड में if 15 seconds में नहीं load होता है, तो then it will throw an error. But it's saying that until 15 seconds you wait until this element is visible. It says left side wrapper, so it might be this here, something like this. I don't remember right now, but some element it is. Okay. Then after that is loaded, it checks. It is waiting until this element is loaded, and then it is scrolling until bottom. So here I've said that scroll until bottom. This is some JavaScript that I've written. So this is basically the user interaction. In code form, this is what I do the scrolling. When I do scroll, this is what I do in terms of JavaScript. Okay. So I have written driver.execute script. Basically, this script is equal to interaction, so I'm executing it in the browser. Okay, driver I have defined here, it is the Chrome browser. In the browser, this interaction will happen. How many times? 100 times. Why 100 times? Is because I'm I am convinced that if I do this 100 times, I will reach the end of page. Maybe it takes lesser than that, but I am using 100. And then what happens is that after I have reached the point where I need data from, like this web page, okay, after I have successfully scrolled till bottom a few times and loaded all the data which was there on this web page, you know, I then find an element by tag name called body. So if all of us have some basic idea about HTML, we would know that there is a head tag. Basically, HTML में HTML है. Just let me close this once. Body tag होता है, HTML tag होता है, जो parent होता है. Then there is head tag, and then there is body tag. And body tag is where all the data resides. Okay, so that is what we're doing. We want to find a element by tag body and get the attribute called inner HTML. Inner HTML basically just all of this from div to niche sara, that is called inner HTML. Okay, the HTML contained inside this tag. Okay, so again, when I said that I'm using beautiful soup for parsing, here I can understand more easily. So in the browser, in the driver, I am saying that find the element by tag name. Okay. Sorry, this is not functionality of beautiful soup. This is functionality of Selenium. Okay. Beautiful soup functionality will coming after this. So basically, we are saying in the browser that find the body and get me the inner HTML. Why is it needed? Because the inner HTML has all the content that we want to scrape. Okay. After it, that it is closing Chrome. So again, the user interaction, how we click here to close. In browser terms, it is called driver.quick. And you can see that this code is very easy to read. That is why we are using Python, because it makes our work easier. You know? After we close the browser, we already have the data in a variable. Okay, so then we do the parsing. So this was the parser we were using. So we pass that here, and now we have another variable holding the body but parsed by this beautiful soup parser. So what happened when this body was parsed here? So this body was some random content, because here it was just text. You know, this element here was just text that needed to be converted into a form, into a structure, such that we could do searching stuff there. Okay, so we could not do directly this find all. You know, let's say, so I check there. Okay, let's do this once again. When I click this and inspect this, I see that I have a span of class actual price. Okay, and ultimately what I would want to do, I would want to take this out. Okay, so I would want to search for a span with class actual price, right? So so to make us enable that, we use a parser. Simply, it's just one line of code. but to understand what it actually does, that's important, right? So we have this variable. Now this variable is structured, and it allows us to find whatever elements that we want. And we saw that the span of class actual price actually contained the flight costs. Okay, similarly other ones. If I just see airways name and go there, I can see that it is available in the span of class airways name. So that is what I'm doing. I'm basically this in this structured text which is parsed. I'm saying filed all spans of class airways name. Okay. So simply I'm just extracting that, and this I'm doing for all the relevant data that I want. So since I don't want all the data on the website, I'm only finding the elements which are required by me. Okay. So this is where I define and extract all of them. Okay, and then the rest again. This third step. Once I have already, if I just go here, once I've already inspected and identified the data content required tags, I'll just have to now do the processing to save it. Parsing the response and saving it. Parsing also includes extracting. So now these, when I did find all and span all of these, what happened was the all of these were found. Like this whole. I mean, let me just yeah. So this whole thing was returned. Okay, right. But again, this is not we want. We want only this particular text from this thing, right? So we will have to extract that. How we do that is now. So I wanted it in a particular format, like I wanted flight name, flight code, departure time, right? And this is how I had defined it here. Ultimately, what I'm doing is that I'm just appending basically, just placing it here along with uh, these headers in this flight data list, right? So just let me comment this thing. Simply, I'm just extracting the text. Okay, all of them, text, the text, right? Since I only want the text, I don't want the tag. This is called the tag. I just want the text. Okay, so from all the tags, I'm extracting the text. Once the text is extracted, I just need to save it into a file. So I'm defining an output file, and then I am saving that output file. Okay, so that is all. I mean, very simply, that is what we have done. For GST scraping, similar things we have done. Defined the URL, and ultimately we are finding the element. Like what we are doing is that we we are finding inspecting this element and found that you know this element is an input, right? And it has some class and other stuff. Okay. So and obviously this has XPath. So if I just print it here, you'll see that this is the XPath, which matches, which I the same thing I put here already. I can just replace it. So this particular element I found, and send keys. Send keys basically the search query. I did what? I put the query and keys dot return means I press enter. Okay. So the search query was this, right? You can make it dynamic. Obviously, if you put a command line argument, it will be dynamic. But default it takes. Okay. So it searched this particular element and then found this one. So again, what I'm doing is that I'm waiting until this particular table actually appears. If this is not appeared, then I cannot scrape it, right? Obviously, I'll have to check that if this is actually come. So again, I can see that if I go here, we will do all of these steps again. I mean, that is not an issue. So I just see a few stuff today. Right, I saw that again. There is some XPath that I'm using here to check if that table is actually existing. And then what's happening is again the same thing. I am finding that particular, you know, table and parsing it through beautiful soups. Then finding all the tea heads. So I found that, you know, we have some tea head in which, so this is where the inspecting comes. First we do this. TH, we have some tier, and in those tier we have a lot of THs. And then there is a T body, which has a tier, and then all of that data is there. Okay. So I simply have to arrive at these TDs to fetch this data, to extract this data. So what I am doing is that I am finding the T head. Zero is something basically the zeroth element because there is only one. Finding all the TRs, right? T head, then TRs, TR, and then TH, and then finding the TH. So I have all the THs, right? And similarly all the TDs. And then simply what I'm doing is that I'm just assigning, very simply this. I'm just assigning the TH to TD, okay? Because that's how it makes sense. So that's how it would be a correct key value pair. Okay. So these are all the simple steps to scrape uh, a website like this. Further, I mean, so right now I will like to take a pause and ask everyone if they have any doubts right now. Uh, Hello, does anyone have any doubts? Okay, right. So let's proceed. Finally, I will show you how to write a code to scrape this website. Okay, and let's do it live, right? So let me close these pages, make my trip and rest of pages. Okay, so this is the website, and my objective is to scrape this data. Okay, so I have already done some basic checks and saw that this is pretty much like a static site where the data does change, but it is not dynamic as in as per se that it auto refreshes after a few seconds, such that the data is changing, after a few after some interval. So we can consider this a static site for a few hours and use the you do the steps that we used to code, right? So ultimately, I have already seen that this website has these numbers available in the page source, right? We've already so here only we can see that there are two buttons. I mean two options: view page source and inspect. I said we already discussed that the page source is equal to DOM in case of a static website, and you know the DOM changes as per the user interaction. Since this is a static site, the DOM would not change. So page source and DOM will still be the same. Here we have page source. I click that. We have the page source. We have inspect. Inspect opens the DOM. Basically the DOM here. Okay. If I go and check, both of these will be same, right? For this particular site, but not for make my trip. If you open the page source, let's just verify this. Okay. Uh, Make my trip. View page source. Let's confirm that the data is not available here. Let's confirm this one 4993. 4993 is visible here, so let's get some other data which is not easily visible. Let's say 6740. Okay, because it is visible only here, so it would be make sense to Check this. We can see that 6740 was not found, even though I did view page source. But here, if I do 143824 and find here, I could see that it was there. Okay. So this is a minute difference in a static site. Minute, kya, I mean, it is important difference that when you have data available in the page source, it is easier. You can directly, you know, request it and save the data, parse it and save. When you have websites where you don't have data in source, you have to do user interaction and rely on the DOM, right? You rely on the inspect thing. Ultimately, what you do is uh, you scrape the inspect wala thing only. But in case of a static website, your inspect wala thing and your view source is the same. And I hope this makes sense to everyone. That is the maximum we need to know about DOM. Okay. So right. So we saw that this data was available here. Okay. Hmm. So let's scrape it, right? So before that, I'll just check that we have a table here, and we can see that uh, when I click this particular button, when you click it, this we will discuss again in the when we come to developer console. But if we click this and click on any of the element available on the web page, if I click it, it will take me to that particular element and show me the tag responsible for that element. So we can see that total recovered we have seen. है ना? So this is, I mean, useful. So we saw that how all the data is structured. We saw that there is a main table. Okay, this main table has all the data, right? So if I could somehow find this table, then I would have a base to extract the data from. Okay, so my first, so I'm currently forming a strategy. My first step is to somehow fetch this table, somehow get this table, and if I when I have that, I can easily manipulate it and extract the data after parsing. Okay, so I got this step. Okay, so my simple inspection is done. After that, I saw that basically again there are T heads and T body. So the T head is the header one. So all of these headers, and then there is T body. Okay, so the T body again has so many rows, and then it contains the data. So uh, I feel that my strategy should be very simple. That once I find the table, I have to find the T heads and these T rows. In all of these T rows, I have to find the table headers, and then again, as we saw in the this example, that ultimately we have to get the TH and TDs, right? We will accordingly do that, right? And once that is done, we will simply store it as we did here. We will define an output file, and we will save that data, right? So so guys, um, guys, sirs, so sir and madams, um, I'll just again take a pause. So what I'm going to do next is I will write some code, and um, if any of you is interested, they can follow along. Okay. So anyway, the format of our class going forward is whenever I will type some code, it should be it should also be followed along. I mean, you should also be able to do that on your own systems, such that I mean it is there in memory. It becomes it becomes imprinted there, and next time, I mean, since we will be doing it a lot of times, okay, so every new time we will do the same thing. We will remember the whole steps, you know and we would form an intuition to tackle how to tackle any kind of website. Okay, so uh, so I see that some users are, I mean, some participants are leaving. Um, Actually, the what we are going to do will take some more time. So should we do it in next session, or I mean, should we conclude it right here, or should we go on? Srikar? Hmm. Right, right. Yeah, obviously that makes sense. But what I thought initially, obviously it took more time. Huh, right. I understood. Yeah, it took more time. But what my intuition was that if I will just try to show you that how I'm coding it, again I think it will take another hour. So let's do it in next session. But if I'll just code it and you will follow along, even if you don't know anything about what we are doing right now, it would still give you some imprint in mind. And then after that we will come to basics of each of these components, right? So what we will do is, first, without knowing anything, we since we have discussed so much about the techniques and the steps, if we have a basic, if we see that basically, me as a developer, what steps I'm following, I think it should give a good idea about how you will proceed. And then after that, we will come to the basics such that we understand each and every line of the code that we have written, such that it makes sense. And once we are at that level to understand each and every line of the code, then I think that is our goal, right? And again, if we understand that, we will be able to write our own code as well. Okay. So in the next session, uh, we will understand, obviously, this particular thing that was left here, which is the live coding session for coronavirus statistics, है ना, worldometers web scraper. We will do this, and next session we will start with the Python basics. Okay, we will do some basic theory and try some coding, and then we will build upon that. But first, I would really like that we do scraping of this very easy website, and some of you, if from the statistics background, they can also do data analysis, because um, once we have data, I mean, we we can do a lot of analysis on that. Obviously, this we can copy this and paste, but scraping is again easier. You won't even have to come to this site. So yeah, just it is very useful. Okay, so in the next session we will tackle this web page, and then we will go to the under Python basics theory and coding examples. Okay, so yeah, at this we can conclude this. I would really request all of you to please come forward with any doubt that you have in this session, so we can clear that out, because the basics are very much required. What we discussed today was an overview of the steps. We will follow this lot of times so that it is imprinted and it is easier for us to follow in the next from the next time. But yeah, there are a lot of concepts to understand before that, and we will tackle all of that. Uh, yeah, that's it. So please, do you have if you have any doubts, kindly please let me know now. I think we can unmute our all of us can unmute our mics, and once before see off talk once, and share any experience that you have, maybe for improvement in next class. So please. Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, we have not yet discussed any of the basics, so this, I mean, it is understood that not all of it will be, making sense right now. But as we go forward, it will make sense. Hello? Yeah, am I audible? Yeah, yes, we could. So yeah, from my side, I think we can conclude from for today. If we have any doubts, I'm still available. So yeah, that's it. I'll just stop recording this session and make it available, both this PPT and